Welcome back, chemistry students. Today we're going to be performing the mole lab. Now the purpose of this lab is to relate Avogadro's number and the mole. So let's go ahead and get started. So in part A of this experiment, we're first going to count by mass using marbles. So we're going to determine the mass of an empty 100 ml beaker. This is our empty 100 ml beaker. The mass of our 100 ml beaker is 50.69 grams. Okay, so next we're going to fill the beaker with marbles. We have our beaker full of marbles now. And we're going to determine the mass of the beaker with the marbles. So the mass of the beaker plus the marbles is 217.75 grams. So we next need to determine the mass of one marble. So we're going to set our beaker with our marbles aside. Place a weigh boat on top of the scale and 0. And we're going to mass one marble. So the mass of one marble is 4.35 grams. So next you're going to calculate how many moles or how many marbles are in the beaker. Okay, so now that you've calculated how many marbles are in the beaker, we're now going to actually count the number of marbles in the beaker. So I'm going to take our beaker full of marbles. Weigh them out. Now I will leave it up to you to count the number of marbles that were in the beaker. Okay, so in part B of this experiment, we're going to count by mass using sand. So first we need to determine the mass of an empty 100 ml beaker. The mass of our empty 100 ml beaker is 50.6885 grams. So next we need to transfer 50 milliliters of sand into the beaker. So I'm going to fill this 50 ml graduated cylinder up with sand and transfer it into the beaker. So I filled the 50 ml graduated cylinder with sand. So we have 50 milliliters of sand now. We're going to transfer this into our empty 100 ml beaker. We are then going to determine the mass of the beaker plus the sand. So the mass of our 100 ml beaker plus the 50 milliliters of sand is 119.9628 grams. So next, we're going to determine the mass of 20 grains of sand. I've already tared the scale with the weigh boat. And we'll count out 20 grams of sand into our weigh boat. Okay, so I've added 20 grains of sand to the weigh boat. Now we will determine the mass. So the mass of 20 grains of sand, here's our 20 grains of sand, is 0.0359 grams. So now you can calculate the approximate number of sand grains in the beaker and continue and finish part B of this experiment. So for part C, how much is a mole of this experiment? The substance we're going to be using is rock salt. So the molar mass of rock salt, sodium chloride, is 58.44 grams per mole. So we're going to measure out 1 mole of our rock salt into a 250 ml beaker. Okay, so we've measured out approximately 1 mole of salt. Here's our beaker with the rock salt. And the weight, we're at 58.4521 grams, just over 1 mole. Here's what 1 mole of rock salt looks like. So that concludes our mole lab. Thank you for joining me for this experiment.